I always say that acne clearing trifecta is time, patience, and consistency, because for some people, this isn't a quick journey. And I would never want people to think, oh, I'm going to come in and get my skin cleared in 3 months.
Around 16 or 17 years old, I also developed an eating disorder. I was bulimic for over 15 years. With my eating disorder, it wasn't just bulimia, it was eating disorders. They seem so black and white, but they're not. They're all intertwined. And for me, it was bulimia, anorexia, orthorexia. Like it was all of that. Still was experiencing the breakouts. And they just kept getting worse from 2022 till last year when I started the program.
You went through some extensive blood labs and some markers and stuff. And what was most interesting to learn about that?
The thing that just pops up right away is it wasn't as bad as I thought. I didn't know, I didn't have any expectations of what it was going to show, but there was some viral markers that were positive.
This is Keep It Clear, real conversations about skin, acne, and women's health without the overwhelm. Because you deserve answers that actually make sense. Today's episode starts now. Now, anytime that we get to have a client on is Cris and I's favorite podcasts, because I think it's so special to be able to go through a client's journey and hear their story, because while all of our clients come in with acne, all of their journeys are so different. And what I'm so excited about Monique's is it really displays and is a great example of sticking with the process, right? I always say that acne clearing trifecta is time, patience, and consistency. And that's something that Monique really displayed so incredibly, because for some people, this isn't a quick journey. And I would never want people to think, oh, I'm going to come in and get my skin cleared in 3 months. It doesn't always work like that for some people. And I think what really makes or breaks the journey for a lot is the time, patience, and consistency, giving your body the time that it needs to heal, because it might not be an overnight thing. So today we're actually getting to hang out with one of Chris's clients. Monique has come in to hang out with us today. Monique, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you both. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, when you posted your photos on Instagram and tagged me, I was like, oh my gosh, I love this story. And like I said, I love when we're able to show the time, patience, and consistency. So Cris, Monique being one of your clients, I would love for you to set us off.
I don't even know where to begin, because this file is so ebbs and flows. It was ups and downs, and we would have acne, and then the acne would clear, and then we'd have something else, and then we have something else. And Monique was with a different coach, and the coach left, and then I took over the file. Well, Monique actually elected me, so that's on her. That's on her.
Yeah. Brave choice, Monique.
Cannot complain. You just revoked that right. So, and when we took over her file, one of the main concerns was working on H. pylori and this mysterious gas bloat. And when I say mysterious, Monique can attest to this. It's mysterious. It wasn't a trigger. It wasn't one trigger. It wasn't a certain food. It wasn't. So there was no point ripping a ton of things. In fact, her body was just overstimulated. So I would probably like to start there with, how your journey's been. Like when you came in, you're like, hey, I'm going to work on my acne. And then you're like, oh, by the way, can we work on this? And can we work on this? And can we work on this? And then she'll probably tell you that, I was just like, okay, I push as a coach. Let's be honest. I'm just going to do precursor. I'm just going to soften it. So I push as a coach. And when I can't let something go, I don't. And what I mean by that is I'm like, I really think we need some testing. I really think we need to get into some viruses. And I really think Monique was willing to do that. And so, yeah, there's a lot of information coming to people today for sure on this file.
So Monique, would you be able to walk us through a little bit about your journey? Maybe tell us the symptoms that you were dealing with, where you're at, what you tried, and then we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, definitely. If I can, I want to back up just because I think a lot of my history before coming into the program, my whole life, it ties so much into what I'm going through and how this journey's been. I was on Accutane, early teens. I did a round of Accutane for my acne, chest acne, back acne. That seemed to clear it up. So luckily it was just one round. And then I went on birth control, mid-late teens. I was probably 16. And I was on birth control for 10 years. Around 16 or 17 years old, I also developed an eating disorder. I was bulimic for over 15 years. With my eating disorder, it wasn't just bulimia. It was, eating disorders, they seem so black and white, but they're not. They're all intertwined. And for me, it was bulimia, anorexia, orthorexia. Like it was all of that. So mid-20s, fast forward to mid-20s, I went off birth control. I was like, I don't want to be on this anymore. I didn't know anything at the time, but so I went off birth control, but I still didn't have a period. So from mid-20s till I started my recovery in 2016, I didn't have a period. So I knew something, my body was struggling. So then fast forward to 2016, I started my recovery from an eating disorder. And in that time that I had my eating disorder, I didn't really struggle with acne. I think my body was it was just struggling to survive. So I didn't have the hormones fluctuating everywhere. And but I didn't really struggle with acne. But when I started my recovery, the first 2 years were okay, but it was very much just eat whatever you can eat. We need to restore body weight. And I think a lot of that kind of contributed to what led me to being in the program. Around 2022 is kind of when I started experiencing the acne. I would get these random breakouts, not knowing why. Thought it was dairy, so I stopped eating dairy, stopped eating gluten, still was experiencing the breakouts. And they just kept getting worse from 2022 till last year when I started the program. And also at that time, I started experiencing migraines. What happened 1 to 3 times a year, not so bad. But then they started progressively getting worse to monthly. And I think the migraines, almost more so than the acne, is what bothered me because I had to start, planning my life out around my migraines because they were debilitating. The only thing that would get rid of them was sleeping. And so January of last year, 2025, I was like, well, I'm going to try new skincare. So I rehauled my skincare, went to all non-pore collagen ingredients. It didn't do anything. I was still experiencing the breakouts. The migraines were getting worse. And my intuition knew with my eating disorder recovery, and I've learned a lot to listen to my body and my intuition. And I knew that something was going on, but I wanted that fast fix. I wanted something that I could just do quickly and it would fix it. But I knew that I needed to dig deeper, and I had found the podcast. And I'd been listening to it for probably a year and a half. I just knew, I was like, I have to do the program. Like, I have to do it. And last May, I had a big trip. And so I said, once I get back from the trip, I'm going to sign up to be in the program. And I did. So it's been a little over a year, and it's been nothing like I expected. I don't know what I was expecting. I thought, I'm just going to do this program for 3-6 months and my acne is going to be better and I'm going to be better and my gut's going to be better and it'll be fine. And then, as we said earlier, it's not been like that. It's been lots of ups and downs. But with my recovery, I learned that things take so long, especially for my body. It just takes a long time to heal. And so that's where I'm at. I'm just being very patient and just really allowing myself to go through what I need to go through. Been a lot of nervous system regulation. That's one of the big things that I've noticed. With my eating disorder, I think that was my coping mechanism for so long too, to regulate my nervous system. It was just like numb out. And now that I don't have that anymore, this has been a big trigger because there's been so much food fear and I've had to eliminate things. There was a time like around December, I literally could eat 10 foods. Like that was all I could eat that didn't cause a reaction. So that was very hard for my nervous system. It was just very triggering. Like Cris and I had talked a lot about when my body feels like we're in fight or flight mode. Because I spent so many years in restriction, my body doesn't know the difference. But even though this is for healing, my body doesn't know that. So it's been a lot of reprogramming in a way to show my body that this is okay. We are safe. This is for healing. And so, yeah, it's just been a lot of take the punches as they come kind of journey. But I'm super glad to be here, and I know this is where I need to be, and I know I'm on the right path, and this is just the next chapter in my recovery, in my healing journey, and being healthy and happy for many, many years for the rest of my life. So that's kind of my journey.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, because I know there's so many women in our community that listen that do struggle with eating disorders, whether it's a past, it's current, and the fact that you were so open with it, I know is going to help so many. Because like I even spoke to people like last week on the phone that shared about they were worried that because they have a history of an eating disorder, they wouldn't be able to get help. And the fact that you're here and you've gone through recovery and you're still working to heal your body every day, I think it's really admirable. And I just want to thank you on behalf of them for sharing that story.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not alone if you're going through something like that. And this program, it's scary. Coming from a history of an eating disorder, it's very scary because eating disorders are so controlling. And when you come into this program, you're restructuring the way you live, the way you eat. And with an eating disorder, you can't just wake up and say, I'm not going to have an eating disorder anymore, because you have to eat every day. It's not like an alcoholic going through and just stopping drinking, or, drug addiction where you can just stop that substance. In eating disorder, like you have to eat every day. So it's very hard. And coming into this, it can be very scary, but you learn how to truly nourish your body. With my recovery, it was like, just eat whatever you want. In going through this program, I've learned so much about what you need to nourish your body and what you need to heal, what your body needs to heal. And yeah, it's like I said, it's the next chapter. It's like the next evolution in my story.
Yeah, it's such an incredible story to share.
Anyone out there, you're not alone.
More grateful that you're on today, because it's, again, going to help so many. And it's like, because you have two components to this story. And I love,
of course,
that you brought up the nervous system regulation, because Cris is really big on this. So I'm like, I think like the heavens parted and like brought you two together to be like,
Monique can attest, Cris is really on this.
It's true.
Yeah. And let's be honest, there were days where you reached out and you're feeling you're like rock bottom, right? You were like, Cris, I don't know how I'm going to do this today. Like, what's happening? Like, am I going to get better? You know what I mean? Talk to me about this. And that's part of coaching. It's not that we're psychologists or anything like that. It's real life people in real life reliving a trauma is really what it is, right? And acne is pretty resilient, because acne is giving a reminder every day when you look at it that we need to heal. It's actually, acne is a reflection, right? Not only a reflection of the inside, but it's a reflection of yourself saying, hey, by the way, there's more to you. You're enough. We just have to figure out the path so that, we can get a lot of that mindset. Because mindset is so huge in the acne world. And something cool happened just recently. So tell me about what really happened recently when you maybe took a little vacation. Because this was a eureka moment. This was
still the tea, Monique.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It was. We've remodeled our kitchen this year. We started in February, full gut, everything. So my life this spring has been just chaotic. Everything's been disrupted. It's just, been crazy. And then trying to go through this program and keep focus on healing. My husband and I, we took a vacation to Florida. We got back last week. And we've been on trips before out of town, but nothing like a vacation. And so going into it, past trips, I've always packed food. It's like, all right, I've scouted out restaurants. I've packed my own food just because I want to stick to this journey and doing the best that I can. And so going into vacation, I said, you know what? We're going on vacation. I've been doing this for a year. I know what my body needs. If we go out to a restaurant, I'm not going to stress the little things. I'm not going to stress the seed oils that they might be cooking with. I'm not going to stress if I eat something that might affect me. So I just went into it really like I can do this. I'm an adult. I can do whatever I want. Cris says I can eat whatever I want. I'm just going to do this. And so I just went into it, just really relaxed and just excited for it. And it was amazing. I wouldn't say I ate whatever I wanted. It wasn't like I went and had French fries and desserts and fried food, and all of that. But I ate pretty much what I wanted and had no reactions. It was 4 days of eating out at the restaurant every meal. And like, wow, this is crazy, because for so many months I've been so stressed, work, life, kitchen, and it's my nervous system is completely shot. But being on vacation, my nervous system had a chance to calm and just relax, and my body just did what bodies are supposed to do. And I enjoyed it, and my bowel movements were amazing. Like, they were unicorns the whole vacation. So it was just, it was like I messaged Cris when we got back, and I said, this was crazy. And what happened? She's like, well, this is what I tell you. Your nervous system is like the number one thing here. So yeah, it was a really cool experience I was just normal.
Amazing.
I didn't have bloating. I didn't have gas.
I love that story. I know so many people listening are like, you did what? And nothing happened? Oh my goodness. Because that's a big fear for people, right? Is like, they're like, oh my gosh, seed oils, and there might be sugar in that, and there could be this. Yeah. And it's like the fact that you're able to go and enjoy a vacation, have that freedom to just live your life like a normal person. Because I know so many acne sufferers out there are like, I hate that, I watch all my friends eat whatever they want, and I'm over here panicking about everything I put in my mouth.
Yeah, when you go through, go ahead. I was just going to say, when you go through this program, it's just important to remember that you're working still hard every day. And for me, I pour everything into something that I'm doing. My recovery was 110%. And this is the same. And my husband often reminds me that you can veer off of your rigid, path. Like, you are doing so well. You need to relax a little bit. You can step off the path for a little bit. It's not going to kill you. When you've been doing this for a year, eliminating seed oils, gluten, dairy, all of the things, all that inflammatory foods for a year, your body's had a chance to repair. And so when you take 3 or 4 days and you eat some of those things again, it's not the end of the world. My skin is clear still. I didn't have any breakout. So it just goes to show that once you give your body a chance to heal and flush out the inflammation, it actually has a chance. It can't process some of those things in small amounts. Just as long as you're not doing it every day, it doesn't hurt to live a little and enjoy those things. Life's too short to just not do it forever. So that's been a great reminder for me.
When you came back, one key thing here too is when people go on vacation, like you said, I ate and I enjoyed what I wanted. I didn't go out and just go I added everything to cart, and I just gorged in that sense, because when you came back, you didn't have the reaction. So what happens if people travel and they do more indulgence because they're like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting any reactions. And then they tempt it and tempt it and tempt it. When they come home, that's when things happen again. So just for everybody listening, it's about enjoying it. It's about, Monique's like, oh, what do I eat? Whatever you want. You go and you enjoy yourself. And, and it's like that little part, because when she came back and she told me, I don't know, I was like, I said, so you got to live it. You got to live what I was preaching. And that is the only thing that's going to bring it home sometimes, is to actually live it, to experience it, because sometimes it's just lip service from a coach, right? And I mean, when the body goes off, and the bowels, right? So you went from, if we have an eating disorder and then we go from migraines, both of those are controlling your quality of life. Now your bowels go off, another control, right? So when the bowels went off, and you did the testing, H. pylori for sure, but it wasn't the only factor, right? You did get your H. pylori down quite a bit in a small amount of time. I'd say about 3 months.
Right.
H. pylori is a little bugger and likes to hang around.
Does it ever?
Yeah, it's a little beast.
Nasty little thing.
And I think I remember our conversation, and you're like, okay, Cris, do I do another gut? Do I come in? Do I go hit? And I said, no. I said, we're not hitting. We're done. We're done with the heavy hitting. We're done telling that body it needs to keep pushing, and we're done. And for a while there, you were like, well, why? How am I going to fix this? What's going on? This doesn't seem right. I'm like, because your body's done. So it's giving the break. It's bringing back in the foods. It's working against the food fears, right? The more can we not honestly, tell me how you feel about this comment. The more you fear the food, the more it'll react on you.
Oh,
and you lived
100%.
it, right? So now you know it.
Absolutely. Yep. And I still live it. That's still something that we're working through. That's our protocol that we're working on now, is introducing foods back in, because I got to a point where it was like, okay, reintroduction. All right, we can eat these foods and no reactions. But then I got comfortable there and I wasn't challenging myself. So I had to come back and say, Cris, I need some more help, because with a background of an eating disorder, food fear it's a huge thing to fight. And so we have a new list of reintroductions now, and we're slowly adding those foods back in. And yeah, the food fear, you fear something, your body's going to react to it.
I told my kids, go talk to the counselor. No, I can't talk to the counselor. Why? Like, do they have sharp teeth? Like, what's happening here, right? But it's the advocacy for yourself, right? And whether we have an eating disorder and acne and stuff, that advocacy seems to get squashed. And it takes a back seat, and we take a back seat, and then the acne becomes us, or the eating disorder becomes us, or the food fear becomes us. And that's driving it. And it's definitely not a linear process, right? Like, we're all over the place. So I do want to very much commend you, because, obviously taking over file, you didn't know me as, as intimate as the other coach. And I just said, we're going to stay close. And if something happens, you're going to tell me. Do you see these flies? Like, I know, I'm sorry, but they want to hear your story too. So, but yeah, so that's just something I just want everyone to understand, is as you go through it, as you understand it, you have to experience it. That's the only way to stay in present. So when you went on vacation and you're like, oh, hey, I have all these questions. No, you don't. You're good. Tell me what you don't need. Can you get a hold of me if you're on vacation? Yep. Do we need to be thinking about it? No. All right, cool. Are we on the same page? Yes. Have fun. Hey, Monique, how was your vacation? Oh, Cris, right? So sometimes it's when we live in that realm of seeking permission. Everything we do in life is seeking permission. So once we, so you're really embracing, and that's something you're really embracing, the fact that you're giving yourself permission to be, to hang out in present. And that's the biggest part. And I just love that you've done quite a bit of in the moment learning, which was cool. I mean, I do like the harder cases. I'm not going to lie. They do intrigue me.
It's her jam. She gets, like, I always tell clients, I'm like, I'm so sorry that you've had to deal with this personally. And Cris is going to be so excited about it.
I do. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at these reports, right? Even when you had, you went through some extensive like blood labs and some markers and stuff. And what was most interesting to learn about that?
The thing that just pops up right away is, like, it wasn't as bad as I thought. I didn't have any expectations of what it was going to show, but everything, there was some viral markers that were positive. The antibodies were there. So that was, it just helped clarify a lot of, because Cris and I have talked a lot of, the viruses can also mimic digestive issues. And so seeing that those were, I think they were all positive. Can't remember if that's accurate completely, but a lot of them were positive. So that was just reassuring to know that maybe my immune system has been fighting so hard, and I'm not broken. It's just my body is trying really hard to fight what I've been dealt. And so it's just trying to calm that terrain. But I think also too, my hormones were actually more normal than I thought they were going to be. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I thought they were going to be maybe not in normal ranges, but they seemed pretty normal. So that was reassuring. Yeah, but it was just kind of cool to see all of that information like in front of you, to see a snapshot of what's going on.
Kate, I was just going to say the one marker that there's two markers that I really couldn't let go. And that's what I was really pushing Monique.
Well, I remember you ordering these labs for Monique, being like, hey, Katie, Monique needs to get these. I need you to order them immediately. I know it's 6 p.m. on a Sunday, but please.
I have to thank you so much for going above and beyond doing that, because we had a little hiccup with my insurance. The insurance wasn't going to cover it, and I was going to have to pay out of pocket anyway. So you guys did a lot of behind the scenes stuff to get me to a lab, and
you're so welcome. We're happy to do that for clients.
Thank you.
Like when Cris has a feeling, I've learned over the years that we just trust it, because when she has this gut instinct, I stop questioning. I'm like, okay, I'll order the labs. Like, you don't, I'm ordering them. We're fine here. And then I remember they came in, I think at like 11 p.m. on like a random night. And I immediately sent them to Cris, and she immediately responded. That's how I knew she was like waiting for these labs to come in. She was like, oh my God, yes. And I was like, I knew you'd be excited.
And usually I'm sleeping, so there had to have been why I was up at that point.
It was instantaneous, because I knew that she needed these labs for her brain to calm.
Well, it's just because the bowels were so reactive, and the specific pattern that was happening for her, where it wasn't a specific food. So no specific carbohydrate diet, no low FODMAP. Nothing was going to touch these bowels. Like I did variations of it without going hardcore, because in my gut, I was like, I'm just not buying that this is going to eradicate through foods, right? So I was interested in EBV, CMV, and HHV6. And they were all positive.
Woo, yay.
Yeah.
Now, why do we get so doesn't it sound so weird? We get so excited. We get so excited
answers.
Because it gives us answers. So we have a viral history. Yeah. So we have past exposure. We have, dormant. So that influences then her sensitivity, her flare patterns, right? Thyroid function, low free T3, immune antibodies elevated. That's the other one I couldn't let go. Right? I'm like, okay. And her insurance, was gonna charge her $1,200.
They were.
And I think the labs.
For these labs?
Yeah. For these labs, $1,200. And I said,
and then
yes, let me see.
And it was a fight. It was such a fight to even get them. And there was some of them that they weren't going to even order. I was still going to have to go elsewhere. So
yeah, I remember this, because this conversation was months ago, but it's like ringing a bell, because I remember her being like, it's going to be, Cris saying it's going to be like $1,200. I was like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
We're looking elsewhere.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm curious, Monique, is throughout this whole journey, what have been some of the biggest aha moments for you?
That you can do hard things. You can, I think it's just a great reminder. I know with life, everybody goes through things, and you think you can't do something because it's hard, but you can do hard things. And I think just knowing that I'm not broken, and learning that I knew acne was my body's way of telling me something, and my digestive issues were my body's way of telling me something that it wasn't right. So just that you can get through, and the aha of like, people are out there and they are willing to help you. I think that a lot of people are stuck because they don't know where to get help, because they go to the doctor and it's not the doctor's fault, but it's our healthcare as a whole right now. You go to the doctor, and I was told so many times that FODMAP, go low FODMAP, and that should help your digestion. Okay, yeah, but why? And so just knowing that there's people out there that can help you is like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. And I think just truly being willing, and just having that aha of probably like the nervous system, and just being willing to like really tackle that. how much it was intertwined, especially for me. I'm sure there's many more, but I'm drawing a blank and can't think of them.
No, those are great. No, those are phenomenal. And I always like to ask this question of clients where their journey hasn't been a quick 3-6 month, that, you've worked on this for a year. And Cris and I both know that, like I said, the time, patience, and consistency can really make or break the success that somebody has, because I know so many people come in thinking, oh, I'm going to be the case where it's only going to take me 3 months. And then they get to that 3-month mark and they kind of panic, like, oh my gosh, my skin's not clear yet. Or they get to the 6-month mark, oh my gosh, my skin's not clear yet. This isn't going to work for me. So for those people, what do you tell them where you're like at that 1 year mark now?
I was one of those people. I thought 3 months, sure, that's a good starting point. And then I think I signed up for the 6 months program. And then I hit that 6-month mark and it was, oh, wow, we're like just getting into this now. Like we're really just starting to dig in. And I said, okay, well, this is my journey and it's not looking how I thought it was going to look. When I signed up last year, I thought, perfect, by next summer, I'm going to go through this program and I'm going to be living life so wonderfully, acne, I'm going to be healed. And it did not look like that. So I know I mentioned it before, but everybody's different. But really, things take a long time. And we are in such a world nowadays of instant gratification. You add to cart and it's there the next day. And the human body is not designed that way. Like it is years. I mean, I'm still looking at this for another year. That's kind of where my expectations are now, is maybe by next summer I will be where I thought I would be this summer. And that's okay. I'm in this. I'm in it for the long haul. I know that by healing my body now, I'm setting my future self up for success and for, we have family that aren't so healthy, and they aren't doing well. They're getting older now and he's seeing the health issues that people have. And I think being on this journey is setting myself up to potentially be better and healthier and give my body what it needs. So just think about it in the long term. It might take a while, but that's okay.
I'm so happy you shared that, because, when people jump in, they're like, oh, this is going to be a quick process. But what you don't realize is 3 months or even 6 months is quite a short amount of time when it comes to healing, especially when it comes to people, when you've been dealing with issues for the majority of your life, for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, like decades of your life. So it's important to remember that, it isn't going to be a quick process. But for you, I love that you were able to shift that mindset of like, I'm in this for the long haul, because I'm not only am I helping my acne and my body and my migraines, but I'm, like you said, I'm also setting myself up for success in the future. And I can tell you listen to the podcast, because these are things that I say all the time. And I think for me, one of the most gratifying things is we're not just clearing your acne, like we're giving you the best chance for future health and reducing your risk of disease and illnesses later on, because like aging doesn't have to be synonymous with feeling like crap and having all of these diseases when you take care of yourself. So I'm so glad that you're looking at it from that perspective. And while we're on this topic, I would love to know what are the shifts in your symptoms that you've seen over this past year?
That's a tricky question. I thought you might ask something similar.
Ooh,
just
and you're like, I was prepared.
Because you get so caught up in the everyday, right? So over this year, if I think back, yes, there has been leaps and bounds and shifts, right? But when you're in it every day, you don't see those little shifts happening. And so there's some mornings I wake up and I have bloating and gas. And it's like, your mind just goes in this loop of, what did I eat yesterday? What could have caused this? Do I need to not eat that again? But really, it's just right now, it's just like a really shortened reaction. It's maybe it lasts like a half hour. And so I think for number one, the migraines have gotten better. I did have one last month, but I really contribute that to the stress. They usually happen around my cycle, around my period. And so just contribute that to stress and overwhelm and just overwork, overexhaustion. But the acne has definitely, I maybe have a breakout. I don't even call them breakouts anymore. I might get like one or two little pimples every now and then. But that's really about it. It's so much better. I can't pinpoint when it's going to happen. It's just kind of a random time and they'll pop up, and that's that. So that's been a really big shift. The migraines and the acne have gotten so much better. And just my bowel movements have become just more consistent and not so reactionary.
We love that. We love a good bowel movement. I know, especially when Cris is your coach, you're looking for those unicorn bowel movements. And I also love the migraine component because I was a migraine sufferer for the majority of my life. And I can attribute, exactly like you said, is they are debilitating. If you've never dealt with one, like it literally, you can't function. So the fact that you were struggling with those so hard and you've been able to get parts of your life back because you're not getting them so regularly. Like migraine sufferers are all like, oh my gosh, like I think I'd rather have the migraines clear up than the acne clear up because they're so debilitating. So I'm so happy to hear that for you. Because you're able to function again. You don't have to plan your life because you're like planning your life around your migraines. So many people plan their life around their breakouts. And it's just when you have that freedom back, I think is incredible.
Even the bowels is huge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But when I say Monique's case has been like, it's intricate is probably the word I have to use.
That's a good word for it.
Because, in all the years I've been hanging out in the clear skin, I'm telling you, maybe 20, which isn't huge, but 20 people
out of thousands
have some deep-seated intricacy that we need to dig in. And Monique definitely, of course, being the outlier, like that's going to be, Monique's like, of course
sure,
I'll be that, right? Because something so simple, when you have raging diarrhea, one of the supplements is Saccharomyces boulardii that we might go in. And every time she took Saccharomyces, it would just ignite inside the body. And it would just, I call it like implode, right? Like it backfired. And then again, so like it's these small things that we have to listen to say, this is not your traditional, something's going on. This is not a traditional low FODMAPs. This is actually, we need you to get to eating more because we need more nutrients in your body to help your body recover. Because actually, interesting is you had a Saccharomyces IgG, so you had an immune reaction to it. And we found that through further like testing. But these, when we go into testing like that, that's like detailed testing. Like we're looking for something.
I should say this was very specific testing to Monique's case. So obviously you guys see like we have the HTMA and GI maps and Dutches. Those are just like the popular ones that we have. There's so much more testing that if we find a case like Monique's where we're like, hey, I think you would really benefit from these specific things, we're able to go and get those for them.
Yeah. And we're at the point now where we're kind of tempting and we're pushing a little bit of our sulfur pathways, which you don't do with bowels, right? Like you have bowel inconsistency. You don't push that detox. You don't do certain things. And right now, she's like, okay, I gave her a protocol. And I think I had 2 supplements in there. I can't remember. It wasn't something huge. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, we're in. We've got the opening. Let's take it. And we're doing it. And we're pushing those sulfur pathways and the body's now responding well to it. So this is going to support the immune system. This is going to support the low metabolic CO2 levels that were low. It's going to support I think it was the ALT, the liver enzymes were elevated too, right? Cholesterol was elevated. Her whole body just was like, I don't want to say fighting with one another, but the systems just were looking for attention, right? Thyroid, cholesterol, diabetes, they're all best friends, right? So it's like when we start to look at things like this, we've got to push. So I am just so excited for you. And I said that. I was like, I guess, what can I say through words? But I'm like, yay, excited, eureka, like my big expressions. But I am so excited that you've been able to get some answers. You've been able to see it, experience it, live it, and be present because that's where you are now. Like So, when you're like, hey, in a year, I'll reevaluate, I'll go through it, I'll reevaluate. That's realistic. How long have you been dealing with this? It was long before the symptoms came up. The symptoms are only when the body is maxed. So everybody remember that. Your symptoms are when your body's maxed. So, just keep going. I'll be hanging with you as long as you need me. And, yeah, well, it's been fun. I like your case. It's super exciting for me too.
I remember at the time when, we had moved you over to Cris. Cris, even though you hadn't requested her, I think at the same time you were asking Paige, like, hey, can I stick with Cris? At the same time, Cris was saying, hey, like, I need to keep this case. You can't have it. Sorry, this one's mine. So I think, like, the universe kind of conspired to bring you two together, because I think this really was a perfect fit for you two.
Yeah. Yeah, we were having fun.
So good. So, Monique, then let me ask you, I always ask everybody is, for that person, that woman that's sitting exactly where you were a year ago thinking, I've been listening to the podcast for a year. I feel like my acne isn't helped. I can't be helped. I'm struggling. I don't know where to get help. And I'm scared. I think a lot of people have that fear of failure. They're like, I'm going to stay comfortable in this discomfort because it looks a little scary over there. What would you say to that person?
I would just say, if not now, when? That's a quote that I kind of not live by, but it's helped me through a lot of things. If not now, when? If you're already listening to the podcast and you're already exploring options to help your acne or whatever you might be struggling with, it's already in your mind that you're trying to do these things to fix it. And so I would just say, just think of where you'll be a year from now if you really dove in and started tackling it. I would say sign up for the program. It's worth its weight in gold, and if not more. Everybody is so supportive, and it's not even a community. It's more of a family. Really, I think Cris and I would consider her one of my friends, and we might not have met in person, but we talk about very personal things. She gives it to you straight, but is also there to support you and pulls back if you need a little bit more of a gentle approach. And you wouldn't believe how much this program will change your life. You might think it's for your acne or migraines or your digestion or whatever it might be. It changed every facet of your life. Just the way you live and the way you eat, and even it trickles down into your family. My husband has been going through some of his own issues, and so now we're tackling those issues because I did it first. And so now we're starting to pick up things that are happening with him. And so, like, how can you not help yourself if you know that it's also going to help your family? It's like a 2-for-1 kind of thing, and it's just such a gift, really. So that's what I would say is just do it for yourself, do it for your family. And like I don't think anybody has gone through the program that has regretted it. I don't, if anyone's out there that has, please let me know, but I highly doubt that there's anybody. It's a once in a lifetime kind of thing. So.
Well, that totally just made my year. Thank you. I brought tears to my eyes. It was just so incredible to hear how much it's impacted your life in a positive way. And another one of my favorite things is I always say that, women can really make such change in the world. And when one woman's brave enough to say, hey, I need help with this, it does trickle down to other people in their life, whether it's their partner, their spouse, their children, their siblings, their parents, colleagues. When one woman is brave enough to make change, it does create an incredible ripple effect. And that's one of the things that I get most excited about. So I'm so glad to hear that it's trickled down into your family and your husband's able to make some changes, right? He's like, oh, okay, Monique's feeling better. Maybe I can feel better too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, Monique, thank you so incredibly much for coming on the podcast today. I absolutely love when we get to have clients on, and I so appreciate you being so open and transparent and sharing so much of your journey, because I know there's women out there listening that have really enjoyed hearing your story.
Yes, well, thank you so much. And yeah, it's just been great being with you guys, and just love you. So thank you.
Oh, we love you too. I love this. I love.
Okay.
All right, everybody. This was another amazing episode of Keep It Clear. Monique's journey is absolutely incredible. And, you know, if you're sitting where she was a year ago, you know, come join us in the Clear Skin Solution. We're super lovely people. I swear, we're so sweet. You will absolutely love hanging out with us. And I put all that in the show notes, but join us next week for another episode of Keep It Clear.